All praises, all praises, all praises to the heavenly, holy, almighty creator of infinity, eternity, the universe, the stars, the earth, the mountains, the oceans, the valleys, the seas, the clouds, all creeping things, humanity, and all there is. This is Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit. Hello, family. Happy Holy Sabbath. Happy Feast of Dedication. Oh, yes, and we are blessed as we step up to the threshold of transition, where we have our cranial universes open and our souls exposed so we can receive the heat and the fire of the wonderful words of the wisdoms of the holy power creator of all. And family, we are at the Sabbath Wisdom Series, week 66, where we are now giving our reverence and our honor and appreciation for another 7 days of the gift of breath and life. And as we come in to this wonderful consensual assembly of coordinated care, concern, and compassion, we offer our salutations of solace and serenity to the 12 tribes of the house of Jacob scattered abroad to the four corners of the earth, as well as the brothers and sisters of the world, the melanated and the Moors, the original man and children of God, the sovereigns and sojourners, the copper-colored, the colored, and people of color, the aboriginals and indigenous, the natives, Negroes and niggas, the African Americans and blacks, the descendants of slaves, and those conquered and colonized. Oh yes, and we are blessed as we come together in love and comfort and safety and joy and security, where we will continue the reevaluation of the education and edification of the holy, hidden, and mystery nation. All praises. And here at our Sabbath Wisdom Series, we review the history, the promise, the prophecy, the true identity, and the true heritage of those scattered to the four corners of the earth and lost their names and their power in the global slave trade, otherwise known as the diaspora. Our praises, family. And it has been a wonderful week as we continue to travail in truth through the boldness and blatancy of Babylon. So we shall continue with our righteous review on this road of excellence and extension and expansion on the expressway of eternity. All praises, and we give our due honor to the Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit channel standards in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore you sons of Jacob are not consumed. Followed by our second heavenly eternal standard in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 8, in reference to the holy anointed Messiah, the wonderful, the counselor, the savior, the king of Israel, whom the world refers to as Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever. And as we continue to learn, as we discern, we invoke the tool of Holy Brother Prophet Isaiah in his scroll of the 20th chapter, verses 9 through 11. Whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breasts. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. Ah, yes, family. And as we are now at the Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit den, we have found our soft space in the place we are now ready to begin the journey of this divine meal of the manna, bread, milk, and wine, as it is sublime, and we now become still and quiet so that we can immerse ourselves in the majesty of our holy royalty. And last week, we had Brother Josiah the King, who was delivered the word of prophecy against the nation and the people. And Brother Josiah had turned his heart quickly back to the fear of the Lord in his wisdom after a book of the law was found in the temple that had been under construction, rebuilding, and refurbishing. And the prophecy of the Lord was, Jerusalem shall be trodden down, and the people shall be taken away in great horror. But because of Josiah's pledge and action, he would not see the evil. And so we shall continue with the wonderful review of our remembrance. The book of 2 Kings, chapter 23, verse 1. And the king sent, and they gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of the Lord. And the king stood by a pillar, and made a covenant before the Lord, to walk after the Lord, and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all their heart and all their soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood up and agreed to the covenant. And the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priest of the second order, and the keepers of the doors, to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all of the vessels that were made for Baal, and for the grove, and for all the host of heaven. And he burned them outside of Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel. And he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the king of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem. Them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the hosts of heaven. And he brought out of the grove, from the house of the Lord without Jerusalem, unto the brook of Kidron, and burned it at the brook of Kidron, and stamped it under, small to powder, and cast the powder thereof upon the graves of the children of the people. And he brake down the houses of the Sodomites that were by the house of the Lord, where the women wove hangings for the grove. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah, and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Geba to Beersheba, and broke down the high places of the gates that were in the entering in of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on a man's left hand at the gate of the city. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they did eat of the unleavened bread among their brothers. And he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the children of Hinnom, that no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire to Molech. And he took away the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the sun at the entering in of the house of the Lord by the chamber of Nathan-Melech, who was the chamberlain, which was in the suburbs, and burned the chariots of the sun with fire, and the altars that were on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of the Lord, did the king beat down and broke down from there, and cast the dust of them into the brook of Kidron. And the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the Mount of Corruption, which Solomon, the king of Israel, had built for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Zidonians, and for Shemash, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Milcom, the abomination of the children of Ammon, did the king defile. All right, family, so Brother King Josiah is going throughout the land, the Holy Land, and the kingdom, the southern kingdom of Judah, and he is cleansing and purifying and purging the wickedness and the idolatry and the priests who bring forth that order out of the holy place. And place says, for the king was given prophecy of the destruction of the land and the people. And now he is bringing the people back into the covenant of the Lord for the fear of the word sent unto him. Verse 14, and he broke in pieces the image and cut down the groves and filled their places with the bones of men. Moreover, the altar that was at Bethel, in the high place which Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, had made, both that altar and the high place he broke down, and burned the high place, and stamped it to small powder, and burned the grove. And as Josiah turned himself, he spied the sepulchres that were in the mount, and sent and took the bones out of the sepulchres, and burned them upon the altar, and polluted it according to the word of the Lord, which the men of God proclaimed, who proclaimed these words. Then he said, what title is that I see? And the men of the city told him, it is the sepulchre of the man of God, which came from Judah, and proclaimed these things that you have done against the altar of Bethel. And he said, let him alone. Let no man move his bones. So they let his bones alone, and the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria, and all the houses also of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which the kings of Israel had made to provoke the Lord to anger, Josiah took away, and did to them according to all the acts that he had done in Bethel. And he slew all the priests of the high places that were there upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and returned to Jerusalem. Ooh, family. So Brother Josiah is going through the land. There is bloodshed, there is death, there is murder, righteous purification under the hand of the word of the Holy Power Creator. Verse 22. Surely there was not, no, verse 21. And the king commanded all the people, saying, keep the Passover unto the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of this covenant. Surely there was not holding such a Passover from the day of the judges that judged Israel, nor in all the days of the king of Israel, nor of the kings of Judah. But in the 18th year of King Josiah, wherein this Passover was held to the Lord in Jerusalem. Moreover, the workers with familiar spirits, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. And like unto him was there no king before him that turned to the Lord with all his heart and with all his soul and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses. Neither after him arose there any king like him. Notwithstanding, the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah also out of my sight, as I have removed Israel, and I will cast off this city Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I said, my name shall be there. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. And King Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him. And his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him king, and made him king in his father's stead. Wow, family. So King Josiah met his end by the hand of King of Egypt. And Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands in Riblah, in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim, and took Jehoahaz away, and he came to Egypt and died there. And Jehoiakim gave silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, of every one according to his taxation, to give it to Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was 23 5 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Zebudah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. All right, his family. So once again, we now have the additional supplemental information and history for our secular and spiritual increase. And so we see how the brother King Josiah found the word of the Lord, hastily confirmed and conformed himself and the nation back to the covenant of promise, after hearing the word of judgment and wrath due to come upon the nation for its continued disobedience and idolatry and spiritual wickedness and adultery against the holy power creator. And we also see how the conspiracy of kingship has taken place. We see war where the elder son of Josiah has been taken into Egypt as a prisoner, and his brother has been put in his stead to make sure the taxation and tribute flows from the people into the hands of the Egyptian king. And so, family, once again, Lord willing, we shall continue with our review, our reevaluation, and our bethinking ourselves back to the remembrance of our royalty. And we shall now continue with the lamentations, the dark sayings, the parables of Brother Hosea, and the petitions of peace from Brother Prophet King David. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verses 6 through 9. For we are a holy people unto the Lord our God. The Lord our God has chosen us to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon us, nor choose us because we were more in number than any people, for we were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved us, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn to our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has the Lord brought us out with a mighty hand and redeemed us out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Verse 9. Know therefore that the Lord our God, he is God, the faithful God, which keeps covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations.